For this next part of the animatic tutorial, I'm going to show you how to work with sound in Adobe Animate. I did encounter a small bug which you should be aware of, and I found a workaround for it, so I'm going to show you that now. The bug happens because when we opened up Animate to begin with, I had you open up and create a new HTML5 file. And apparently HTML5 disables some of the sound functions. What would eliminate that would be to open up a create a new ActionScript 3 file, and that allows you some of the functions of sound. However, we didn't do that. I am working with an HTML5 file, so we need to convert it. From now on, if you open up your files with ActionScript 3, it will eliminate any sound issues, and you won't see any differences in any of the functions of Adobe Animate. So what I'm going to do is open up my file that we've been working with. This is an HTML5 file, and if we were to bring in sound right now, some of the functionality would not work. So what we need to do is convert this file to an ActionScript 3 file, and it's very easy. You go to File, Convert to ActionScript 3, and it's going to give you it's going to create a new file. It's going to create this ActionScript 3 suffix to it, and you're going to save it, and it'll create a new file in your folder here, and that's the one you're going to want to work with from now on. It also tells you that it worked, and that's in your timeline. It gives you a little output window. You can go back to timeline. You don't need to look at that output window anymore. Also notice that your old file is still in the Adobe Animate interface here, and you can switch back to the new file to the old file. However, if you've saved the old file, you don't need that anymore, and you can close that out and start working with the new ActionScript 3 file. You can rename it, you can resave after that. Some of your settings may change, but nothing major is going to happen. So now, with that being said, you can continue on and start working with sound, and you shouldn't see any difference now. You're just working with an ActionScript 3 file. Usually when you're making animatics, or when you're cutting any kind of video, usually the sound is first, and a lot of the cutting is done according to dialogue or music or sound effects. So sound usually happens first. If that is the case, then you'd be working with an ActionScript 3 file. You probably open up an ActionScript 3 file. The sounds is going to, all your functionality will be there. We kind of did it backwards here. So again, we're working with a new fixed file, and we want to bring in sound and sound effects. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this layer here, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I want to make sure that that new layer is at the bottom. I'm going to put all my sound effects, and you can create additional layers for sound, but I just want to make sure that it's below all of my visuals here, and you can rename that. I'm going to call this music, like so, and I've created a new layer just for my music, and you can create another one for sound effects or whatever. We're just going to work with music right now because it's easy, and that's going to create a layer that goes to the length of your timeline. Just like anything else, like your storyboard panels, visuals, you're going to want to import your sound. And now I've gone and I've collected a couple of sounds here for this project in particular. I've got some bird sounds, I've got a bumblebee sound, and I've got some music. I've also got some footsteps. Those aren't going to work because I have to convert. This is a video, and I'm going to have to convert that to either a MP3 or a WAV file. If you take video is not going to import into Adobe Animate for sound. You're going to have to bring that into another program like Premiere or After Effects and extract the sound out of that. So I have a sound folder in my project folder, and again I'm going to want to import that just as I would any kind of item into my library. So I go import to library. You may have to navigate to the sound file here, and I'm going to bring in that music. You notice I have two. I have an MP3 and a WAV file. MP3s work fine. And I'm going to open that up, and it's going to show up in my library. Cheesy jungle music, MP3. And you know it's a sound because it's going to have this little icon here. Okay, so now, really simple, you're going to click on that keyframe, that first keyframe, where you want the sound to start. If you want the sound to start in another place, for example, like here, you make an empty keyframe, and you can bring the sound in there, or you can bring it in at the beginning. You can start at any time, and you're just going to click on that sound and drag it into your stage here, and if you notice, it brought in the sound, and you know that it brought it in because it has this little waveform indication there. If I go into my properties, it might, so if I were to scroll through or play this, oops, it is playing, which is very, very interesting because it shouldn't, but if it, for some reason it's not playing, it's not scrolling, like it's doing now, I'm scrolling through and I don't hear anything, which is not very helpful. You might want to scroll through and hear the sound. It is because there's a setting in Adobe Animate that you need to be aware of. So if I click on that keyframe and I look in the sound properties, so it's that sound keyframe in the sound properties, you'll notice under here, under the sound tab, effects, and you're going to see the, you're going to see the sync. Sorry, not effects, sync. And it's going to default most likely to event. All you do is you change that to stream. Okay, this has messed up people a lot with the sound. For some reason, Adobe Animate and Flash likes to default to the event because of a lot of the interactive capabilities of Flash. So if you go to stream, you can now scroll through and listen to your sound and move your sound around and cut your picture according to the soundtrack. If you wanted to add another layer, for example, you would just put another layer there, make a keyframe, import whatever sound you want, import to the library. I'm going to bring in the birds and open that up, and that's going to come into my library here. It is right here at the top here, and I'm going to bring that in, and that'll bring in, you can kind of hear it, the music's kind of loud, but you can layer sounds and you can sort of edit sounds together in Adobe Animate. And when you go and you make a movie, like we're going to do now, we're going to export video, and we're going to export it to, yes, it's going to go to our project. Go save, export, and if we do open it, oops, not ready yet, where are you? There we go, come on. And we're going to open it up here. No, it's going to open up with QuickTime Player. And there you go. You have sound on your animatic video. I hope this helps. Email me with any questions.